preaching that sometimes God puts us in places where He stretches us, and He stretches us to the point where He wants us to grow, and that stretching makes us into a person that is in the likeness of Christ, and that is a good thing. Yet in the midst of that stretching, there are times where you just get to the place where you realize that I'm like those youths who have grown tired and weary, and I'm like that young man that has stumbled and fallen, and I am tired, and I have to wait upon the Lord. You know, sometimes we get tired and weary because we haven't been being filled with the spirits. But we've been just doing things on our own. We've been working hard for the Lord, but we haven't been working hard in the Lord. And some of you may be in a place where you're waiting upon the Lord is actually waiting for God to begin filling you. And the truth is, you've got to get to a place where you begin to say, you know, God, it's not about me, and it's not about me doing it on my own. It's about you doing it through me. And part of waiting upon the Lord is us coming to a place where we begin to realize, God, I am dependent on you. There's nothing that I can do in myself. There's nothing that I can do apart from you. All my good works is as filthy rags. Lord, do something in me. It's a fascinating passage here in Isaiah 40, verse 31. Where he says, but those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now all of those descriptions come to the same idea of God's people begin to be renewed by His presence and His Spirit. And they begin to work and to walk in His presence and in His Spirit, because He is doing something so mighty and so powerful. The pictures are incredible, where He talks about renewing their strength, and you begin to see the total possibility of a man with all of his strength. Where He talks about mounting up with wings as eagles. He's talking about those great, huge eagles that can soar through the sky. When He pictures those, they that shall run and not be weary, He is picturing those ancient guardsmen who were the guards to the king. They were chosen for their ability as physical specimens to run and keep running and keep on and keep on. They shall walk and not faint. And God's picture for you is a picture of a person that doesn't have a heavy yoke that is burdening them down, that is putting them so close to the ground that they feel like, I can't carry it anymore. Folks, I believe God is just looking at you, and He's looking at me and saying, toss off that burden, because that burden's not of me. Toss off that yoke, because that yoke is not of me. For my burden is easy, and my yoke is light. Folks, it's time that you and I and this church began to just say, you know what? I'm going to wait upon the Lord and see what He's going to do. I'm going to prepare myself, and I'm just going to say, God, I want to depend on you. I want your Spirit to fill me. I want to be anointed with your presence. God, I may be tired. I may be weary. I may be in a place where I don't feel like I can go on. But my recognition is that you are bigger than that. You are stronger than that. And it is you who fills me, and it is you who completes me. And I can't wait to be one who mounts up with wings as eagles. In a few weeks, we'll be at Easter. This week, I've challenged you to take this little booklet. This Try and Pray booklet. I challenged you last week, actually, to take it and pray. This week, I'm challenging you to take it and give it away. In the midst, I want you to keep praying. And I want you to pray that God begin to do a mighty work here. And that we call out to God and we say, God, we are waiting on you. God, we are totally dependent on you. God, I can't do it on my own. I can't do it in myself, but you can do it, and you can do far more than I can ever even think and I can ever even imagine. God, I can't imagine how this man or this woman would come to know you, but you can. Folks, we're asking God for the miraculous. We're asking Him to do mighty, mighty works. We have a choice now. We have a choice, you and I. And that choice is, are we going to stay in the state of the Israelites? Are we going to continue to complain to God and say, God, why is my way hidden from you? Why is my cause disregarded by you? Or are we going to recognize that God has heard our prayer? That God is sufficient. And that God can do what He says He's going to do. And are we going to wait with expectation to see what God will do? Years ago, I was working as a youth minister. I was in my early 20s and hadn't known the Lord but a few years. And I was in a large youth ministry, and I was working with kids from the age of about 11 to about 13. And we had this one kid that he got in trouble everywhere he went. You ever met anybody like that? That boy was a mess. I mean, every time he went somewhere, he was getting into trouble. And we had a pretty active youth ministry, and we were doing things all the time. And sure enough, every time we turned around, we were having to get on to this boy and tell his mom, you know, this kid's done this again, da-da-da-da, and his mom was just exasperated and overwhelmed. The truth is, we found ourselves disciplining the child more than we found ourselves talking to him about Jesus. And I remember we were getting ready for our big camp, and at our big camp we would take all these kids away, and I think that year we had about 320 kids that we were taking away. So we had busload after busload. We were taking about a 6-hour journey up into the mountains. And so we got ready for that camp, and we were talking about it, and we were trying to get all the plans made and get them scheduled out. And